Hey man, this is Alex. Heard you're working late tonight. I was just calling to say that I'm coming to get ya.
There are no jump scares, no loud sounds, and no scary imagery. The only goal is for the player to escape the seemingly endless maze-like apartment complex. Each step feels heavier as what's around each corner becomes ever more uncertain. The only thing that the player knows is it's coming. There is no description of what it is, where it is, or what it looks like. The only certainty is that it's coming for you. For no rhyme or reason, Alex is coming. Out of the thousands of horror games floating in the media, Nighttime Visitor breaks the boundaries of how horror games create tension. The opening title screen shows the silhouette of a building met with a gray skyline. The building presumably where the game takes place, with an unworldly theme that's partnered with the ominous visuals of the screen. Though the tone may seem set by the title page, it's nothing compared to the experience succeeding after the player hits Start Game. The game begins with a haunting, yet silly phone call from something named Alex. It states that it's going to get you, and the game leaves the player with only one goal: to escape. The player wanders around the never-ending apartment complex in search of the exit. During this trek, Alex can call the player to make their phone ring, which gives it insight on your location. If the player decides to answer this call, they'll be met with imposing breathing of Alex. Every second the game goes by, Alex narrows down your location until it finally catches you. Luckily, the player has their own techniques to sneak past Alex. One technique allows the player to knock on doors to gain insight and hints on how to escape this world seemingly disjointed from reality. Knocking isn't always effective. Sometimes the entity behind the door won't answer, while other knocks might be met with muffled arguing and yelling. The other technique the player can use to their advantage is the ability to call Alex, much like it can call you. If Alex is around, his phone ring can be heard down the nearby halls. Giving the player the same ability as the entity creates a cat and mouse-like experience, with the player always being at a slight disadvantage. Even though the player has more mechanics on their side, they're as good as dead if Alex catches sight of them. Once it spots its prey, it's an endless onslaught until the player is caught. During this pursuit, an otherworldly noise increases as it gets closer and closer until... Puddle World, a cartoony-like world the player is taken to when caught by Alex. This world is made up of 2D crayon-like drawings of lampposts, buildings, and pathways. The player wades through the abyss trying to find a way out until eventually coming up on a phone sitting at an orange childlike table. Picking up the phone and making the call, presumably to Alex, takes the player back to the complex, restarting the eternal trek of trying to break free from this cycle. Puddle World is an element directly inspired by the popular indie game Yume Nikki. In Yume Nikki, there are no NPCs, guidance, or purpose. There are lampposts that can be turned off and on, which does nothing, and a pink tunnel that leads to a differing area. Though it's said to serve little importance, Puddle World serves as a missing piece of the romance in both games. It's a state of mind, drawing the viewer deeper into the surrealistic, dreamlike experience the game sets up prior, with each return to the reality they set up being even more impactful. Puddle World serves as one of the 4 locations found within the experience, with the rest being found while trying to escape from Alex's grasp. These places have no name, so I'll title them until they're given their official names. I've titled these areas the Dream, the Basement, and Reality, with each having different altercations that bring out different feelings within the player. The Dream is the first area the player finds themselves in. This is the area where they get their call from Alex and begin to trek their way to the exit. This is the region where people can be heard behind the doors, with most doors having their name labeled on them. Other things found in this region include bathrooms that cannot be accessed, clocks, chairs, cabinets, corkboards, and exit signs that point the player into the right direction. This is the beginning of the surrealism that floods the game, where the uncertainty is at the highest point. The player isn't accustomed to Alex and how the mechanics of the game work, but the Dream teaches them that. It's a tutorial that perfectly introduces the dreamlike experience the trek offers, while also delivering the mechanics of the game with soaring success. The Dream is a perfect introduction to the game, where the player may not even come across Alex, yet the following area, the Basement, serves as the most dangerous section of the game. The basement is the area following the dream where Alex has the highest chances of getting the player. There's a slight introduction to it in the middle of the dream, though it doesn't convey the tension found within the level. White bricks line the dimly lit walls of the region with cold cement footsteps accompanying the experience. The basement in design is a long hall with branching paths that lead to dead ends, with only one path having the exit. There are metal doors, yet no voices can be found behind them. Player is alone. The area is so dangerous due to Alex's one-track hunt for the player. If it catches any glimpse of the player in this hallway, it will continue its pursuit no matter what branch the player tries to hide in. Not only is the chance for failure at its highest point, the game is designed for this to be the place where the player meets Alex. Nighttime Visitor has 3 main areas the player must travel through to escape. The basement falls in the center of the map, connecting the dream and reality with one way into and out of the area. There's a transitional room between the dream and the basement that has multiple paths to get into. This transitional room is the core reason the game is even possible to complete. Presumably, Alex begins its pursuit near the end of reality and travels to the dream after it makes its first call to the player. This sets up the basement to be the meeting point between the two figures, with the player needing to quote-unquote trick Alex into going into a different direction so they won't meet within the basement. With the player not having access to reality, the player must lead Alex somewhere within the dream. Of course, when playing the game for the first time, there is no real strategy, as the user is simply trying to navigate the maze-like structure of the dream. The first playthrough holds the most likely chance for the player to bypass Alex in the basement, because they may accidentally outmaneuver Alex by simply trying to find the way out. As the player learns the structure of the dream, they'd have to purposely attempt to deceive Alex by choosing to go one way and changing the direction they come into the transition room between the two levels. Once in the basement, the constant worry that Alex may run up behind the player or around any corner may linger in their mind. Eventually, the player will find the exit of this chokehold and make their way into reality. Reality is the final area, yet it brings back the architectural design of the dream. The only difference between the dream and reality is that reality has a darker atmosphere, it has an exit, and windows that show the outside world. Due to the player overcoming Alex between the dream and the basement, and Alex most likely being quite the distance away from the player, reality can give a sense of relief for those familiar with the game, or an ever-tense experience of believing Alex could be around any and each corner for those unfamiliar. Because reality serves as the final gateway, the player spends the least amount of time wandering through it. Even though it shares so much with the other levels, particularly the dream, the windows give reality an entirely different dimension of depth. So much time is spent in the claustrophobic spaces of the first 2 levels and the land in between, with little to no signs of any outside world. Clocks give some sense of time, and the muffled arguing behind the door may indicate some form of life, but the windows give the first real semblance of existence. The dreamlike facade crafted throughout the experience clashes with the reality of the outside world. Street lamps can be seen lighting different paths across the world that holds a gray sky backdrop similar to the title screen of the game. The silhouettes of the trees clash with the sky, with the lamp post bringing up some questions regarding the world. Are there others out there, and if so, are they going through the same loop we are? Maybe each path lit by lampposts leads to another complex. If so, are there others in that maze going through the same loop the player is? Reality ends as simple as the dream starts, a fade in and a fade out. Reality serves as a simple bookend to the efficacious indie title that flooded many with fear. Nighttime Visitor was crafted in a couple of weeks for a game jam by developer Raincoil. It was released in 2015 on itch.io to little success in an era where jump scares and mascots became the trend for horror games. Games like Bendy and the Ink Machine, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Hello Neighbor blew up, yet they are missing the tension experienced in games like Amnesia and Outlast. In 2017, Nighttime Visitor was picked up by large YouTubers such as Markiplier and 8-Bit Ryan, which fueled the game with popularity. Raincoil saw the popularity and felt the concept could be explored further in a successor. Raincoil began posting images of a remade Puddle World that took even more inspiration from Yume Nikki. Since the images were revealed, there's been no update or information about the successor. However, that does not stop Nighttime Visitor from being a monumental game for the horror genre. The game serves as a challenge to the mascot horror craze of its time, valuing ever-growing tension and surrealism over cheap jump scares. Every person's experience through the complex is based on how the individual plays the game. Some may meet their demise to Alex, while some may never get to experience Puddle World. The simple premise stands the test of time and is accessible to anyone who may choose to play it. Can you escape the complex, or will you be forced to wade through Puddle World? The link to the game's download is in the description. With all that said, I hope Nighttime Visitor treats everyone as well as it's treated me. I'll see you all in Puddle World.